Hi, my name is Danyel, and this is my testimony. Growing up, I wasn't that great at things. I wasn't good at sports. My grades weren't the best. I compared myself a lot to my sister, who was the complete opposite. I struggled with body image horribly. For a long time, I hated who I was, how I looked, and wondered why I looked different than others. Bullies definitely didn't help, but I learned very quickly how to hide all this hurt with a giggle or a smile. I was 13 years old when I started going to church. I loved every part of it. Everyone was so kind and accepting. And for an insecure little girl who craved acceptance so badly, it was comforting. I was instantly drawn to worship and the way people worshiped. My family started getting involved more. My sister and I started attending youth group. Shortly after joining, we raised money to go to this youth conference, and at 14 years old, I accepted God into my heart for the first time at this youth conference. During worship, on my knees, surrounded by hundreds of youth, God made me feel like the only person in that room. That was the very first time I felt God. Worship quickly became my favorite thing at church. I learned how to carry somewhat of a tune until one day I got compliments on my voice. So I ran with it. Someone complimented me. I decided I wanted to teach myself how to sing. The more I strengthened and improved my voice, the more my confidence grew. I felt pretty. I felt purposeful. I felt like I was worth something. Then I lost my voice. I lost my voice for 3 months. I was about 15 or 16 at the time. These walls of temporary confidence that I built quickly fell, and I was consumed again by my old hurts and insecurities. I tried anything to bring my voice back, from home remedies to doctor visits to different medicines and inhalers. Nothing worked. I fell deeper and deeper into a hole, and I didn't understand it. I started believing the lies I was telling myself, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't pretty, and I felt useless. The one thing that made me feel good about myself, I couldn't do. I was blinded by all this hate towards myself. I thought that by ending my life, it'd be the only way out of it, and that it was what I deserved. I planned it down to the night and how I was going to go. But that night, I hit my knees and I prayed and I pleaded and I begged God to give me a reason to stay, to help me recognize something inside of me that was worth living for. Then I gave him this promise. I said, God, if you heal my voice, I promise to use it for you. Up until that moment, I didn't fully understand that there's this God that calls me friend, and that I can call on him and talk to him as if he was sitting right next to me. Within a week, my voice was healed. Not only was my voice healed, but also my heart, and my worth wasn't measured by what I can do, but by who I am in him. In this situation, God spoke a simple yet massive truth, that he loves me. I didn't have to do anything to earn that love. I didn't have to look a certain way. I didn't have to sing something pretty for him to notice me. He accepted me, and he set me free from my smallness of my own thinking. In Ephesians chapter 1, verses 5 and 6, the Passion Translation says, "For it was always in his perfect plan to adopt us his delightful children through our union with Jesus, the Anointed One, so that his tremendous love that cascades over us would glorify his grace. For the same love he has for the beloved Jesus, he has for us. And this unfolding plan brings him great pleasure. It goes on in that chapter about who we are through him and how he sees us. It says in verse 3, you are blessed with every spiritual blessing. Verse 4, chosen before the creations of the world, holy and blameless. Verse 5, just as we mentioned earlier, loved, predestined, adopted as sons and daughters under God's pleasure and in God's will. Verse 6, to the praise and the glories of grace. Verse 7, redeemed, forgiven, rich in God's grace. Verse 8, wise in understanding. Verse 9, aware of the mysteries of Christ. Verse 10, chosen. Verse 11, predestined. Verse 12, for the praise of his glory. Verse 13, you are included. Verse 14, you are sealed with the Holy Spirit in God's possession. And verse 15, you are in line for inheritance, and you are clothed in his righteousness. And it goes on. And if anyone has ever felt those thoughts, gone through a similar situation, or even currently in it, I hope you leave with this. You are worthy. And you are worthy of his love and grace. And you are loved tremendously.